bubbles. They're all hanging off the bottom there for sure. Everything is bubbles. Right now, the atmosphere is so full. I can't believe that nobody else can see it. But if you look closely, everything's bubbles. Rows and rows of bubbles leading other bubbles around. But you can't really see them because they're invisible, but they're clear as a bell in my eyes. Look at this great big bubble right here. Look at it. And that strand of bubbles here, starting here. And, they're all globs of bubble-covered bubbles. Right? So just watch as it moves, right? It stays. If it were to be missed, it would just mist apart. But it all kind of stays together and just moves and molds around the bubbles. Every size that you can imagine. And every layer deep. Like there's gazillions of layers of bubbles deep before we get to see the clouds. So reality is just an illusion in a sense. Because we're like standing on this rock. It's sort of like a kidney stone or something in a soup of cells. This is our soup of cells moving around us while we stand stationary on this kidney stone. That's all stem cells. Everything's a stem cell. Everything has its own purpose, just one purpose alone, to do what it's got to do. And that's how the universe works. Everything has its one individual purpose. Just like you and I. We were brought here for one reason. And mine is to help people see a different reality than we've all been programmed to believe we're living in. I've always felt that this was not what humans were meant to do, the way we live. And I've discovered as I got older that I was right. There's so much out there that we don't know because we're blind to it. We've been programmed not to see it. Well, I kind of somehow stepped over that programming and I see reality differently. And since I see it, it's like the double slit experiment. Once I see it, it can't not be. So I see it. I see the bubbles in everything. I see this is just a camouflage over top of the bubbles. Everything blue is see-through, is clear bubbles. So right here to the cloud level, it's all clear bubbles. And then somewhere, somehow, the dimensional frequencies are different there. And there's a layer there of something that exposes a mist of tiny bubbles that camouflage the bigger ones. But look at them, they're all moving the same distance apart from each other because everything's part of something else. Like that's a huge ball right there, and then there's strands that go off that disappear, right? There's a bubble hanging right here, and it's wrapped around by these other clouds, and it's this big bubble here. You can see there's the other bubble sitting on top of that there, and another bubble sitting there, and another bubble sitting there. They're all misty, but they're there, right? You can't say they're not there because they're sitting everywhere. You just got to know what to look for. See, look, beautiful bubbles everywhere. Bubbles, bubbles, bubbles. So if you can't see that bubble, try harder. You can't see that bubble, try harder. You can't see these bubbles sitting on top of the cloud here, try harder. I don't know what to tell you, but it's all real. Everything is blue bubbles, see-through bubbles in the mist. And when there's no mist, then we just don't see the bubbles because there's nothing there to outline them. But that's all I can see. I can see bubbles wrapped in this mist, all cruising along. And I've seen it for a couple years now, almost. So, that's bubbles. These are all big bubbles. See the huge bubble sitting right there? Yeah, and it's like all attached to this great big bubble here. This is sort of like a center bubble to this great big bubble, and this is like a line of food or more bubbles, but it's like a pokeball, and it's just like the centerpiece, and part of it goes this way and then part of it goes that way, just like the Vajra. See, like right here in this center spot, that's the center of a bubble, and that's the power of the Vajra going that way and the power of the Vajra going that way. It just goes off here into empty bubbles, see-through bubbles, just like up here, same thing, Vajra. Right, we got center of the Vajra here, energy going out that way, energy going out that way. We just can't see those bubbles because they're not mixed up. Here's the center of a bubble. This is the bubble, like the Vajra. It's got power going off that way. It's got that power going off that way. All right, this is all orbs here, all with the mist around them. Once you see this, right, that's a center point orb with orbs here and orbs there, and a hat of misty bubbles going off into the back. Right, once you see it, once you realize that's a perfectly round orb, that's all camouflaged. Right, there's bubbles down here, bubbles down there, bubble on top of it, and a trail of bubbles. It's always a trail of bubbles. Behind every big bubble, there's smaller bubbles, but you can't always see them, right? This is like a row of bubbles. See the bubble, see the bubble, see the bubble, row of bubbles. And then these bubbles here got a bit of white mist on them. So that's a bubble, there's a bubble, there's a bubble, there's a bubble, right? So up here you got these bubbles with the mist around the bubbles, bubbles, bubbles. Then we've got this white line of bubbles that are separating these other darker bubbles up in here that you can see through. Once you can see that it's all just masses of different rows of different shaded, different sized bubbles, you'll see what I see. Like these are dark bubbles right here, like see-through. You can bubble here, like, and there's all the trail of bubbles going that way. This is whole mass of see-through bubbles. You got to be able to see where the different bubbles meet the different bubbles. They're all bubbles. See, like this is a huge Vajra. This is the center of the Vajra, and then the bubbles go out this way as energy, and then they go out this way as energy. It's just they're see-through. Here you can't see them, but there's rows of them, right? And you got your big center ball of energy here, and then the row of energy. See, there's a dark one, and there's a white one, right? Side by side, two bubbles, two different intention of energy. This one goes this way, and this one goes this way, just like a Vajra. See the size of these bubbles, these orbs that are all camouflaged right here, here. They go up into another row of bubbles here. These are all bubbles. So if you can't see, this is one huge big blue bubble here with all the little bubbles going around. Sooner or later, somebody's gonna see these and say, yeah, I can see that. I haven't had anybody yet. Right, this is one great big see-through bubble, right? It's just all amazing how they're all together, but you can't see them. Well, they're there. once you do see them, then you can't stop, right? It's all camouflage bubbles floating along. Right. Happy Friday.